seen it have in markets like India, in new markets where I guess don't even have a Grand Prix?
Well, I've seen an incredible growth actually amongst the youth, and especially young girls that previously wouldn't have watched Formula One for whatever reason. You know, I have a stepdaughter, and although she's grown up around Formula One, she never really, engaged with it. But now she's asking me questions. You know, she's in her early 20s now, but I've got friends who've got daughters who are saying, "Oh, can they get a signature from Max or whoever?"
Is it the access, you think? Does it make the sport? Is it the sort of the perception that's changed?
Yeah, 100%. Because if you were tuning into a typical Grand Prix in the past, you had to sort of imagine what the emotions were, other than you see a driver on the podium spraying the champagne. Now you get to see behind the scenes, and you get to see more of the personalities, not only of the drivers, but the team principals, the teams as a whole. And it's great. I think it's great entertainment. And the fact that you're watching what's already happened. Well, when I watch a James Bond movie, I do so with anticipation, even though I know he's going to capture the bad guy, he's going to kiss the girl, and he's going to save the world. It doesn't spoil your enjoyment. So the same with Drive to Survive, it doesn't spoil my enjoyment because I'm engaged in a way that I wasn't before. So other sports now are obviously trying to pick up on what Formula One under Liberty have managed to do. So long may that continue.
Yeah, I think it's just been amazing to see, as you said, such a new audience coming to the sport. Speaking of the new audiences and the new cars as well, this is obviously a championship-winning car from 2011, but what do you make of the new generation of cars? How different is it? What's your perception of the technology that's moved on as well?
I think Formula One's always at the forefront of technology that finds its way onto the road cars that we drive in the future, because of obviously improved safety. The cars have got a bit heavier, and with the bigger dependency on the electrification, again they've got a bit heavier than the cars we used to race, but it's still the fastest form of single-seater racing in the world. These are the most technologically advanced cars that are put together by brilliantly creative people, and therefore the excitement and fascination is still there. And what I think that Formula One continues to do with the most fuel-efficient engines and going towards biofuels, it's answering real-life questions. A lot of politicians will talk about let's electrify all the cars as if that's just going to happen within their term in office. It is not going to happen in a few years. We need to find long-term sustainable solutions. So one side of the sport is that technology transfer, and that's why the major manufacturers want to be involved.
Yeah, I think it is a long-term plan, and we, I guess, here in India, we're always at the forefront of pushing things in terms of automobile technology as well, and just the entire industry here has been booming over the last, I would say, decade as well. So it is always amazing to see where Formula One can stretch the curve as well. But just going back to when the curve was a lot different, DC 2009, what are your fond memories of that show run that you did in India? Did it surprise you how much passion for the sport there was back then itself?
I guess every country, when you go there and experience, you don't know exactly what the reception's going to be, but it was fantastic. I don't need to tell all of you who are from this city or from this country, the welcome you give to foreigners like me coming into town is fantastic. The warmth is something we all feel, and the reaction from the crowd, it always puts a smile on my face when I hear the car fire up, because there's a living, breathing sort of amazing technology hidden under the bodywork, and it impresses people to hear that noise and to see the speed of a Grand Prix car. So we're back not because they told us to, we're back because we want to be here.
What do you love most about these show runs? You can see a smile on your face every time you're speaking about it, but what is it that excites you the most?
Well, as an ex-driver, it reconnects me with a Formula One car, and of course technology in modern Grand Prix cars has moved on, but the essence of driving a car, a high-performance car, is still the same, and I think it enables me very, selfishly, I'm able to reconnect with a period of my life that was a huge part of my life. And I think also in terms of broadcasting, it helps me not turn into one of those old drivers that thinks it was easier in my time, because modern Grand Prix cars are still tremendously challenging to drive, and a lot of technology there, different driving style might be required, but we're seeing the fastest competitors out on track right now, and I get to remind myself what it's like to drive a race car, and then I get to talk about it at the next Grand Prix on television.
That as well. We're less than 24 hours now before motorsport fans are going to love the most from the show run tomorrow.
Well, the show run is an opportunity to get closer to a Grand Prix car than you would normally do going to the racetrack. So they're going to get that up close and personal experience of the sound of the car, the speed of the car. Of course, we'll try and do some donuts. The last event I did, and it was interesting when Chris said that local market always kind of looks at when's the best time to do a show run. Well, we were in Ireland in January, which Ireland in January is a cold, wet place, so I'm not really sure what that local market was thinking. But it's quite difficult to put on the same show on a wet track, but I'm pretty confident the weather's going to be good tomorrow, so we'll have some nice burnouts and donuts and all the rest of it.
We've all had a chat upstairs and said, keep it clear, we're good to go, we're good to go. But guys, I think there's only one thing left to do. Let's fire this baby up. Chris, it's in your hands. What goes into firing it up? Just talk us through that process as well, because obviously it is a process, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see a lot of pipes coming out of the car. You've got the wire here. This is what we call the umbilical. So it's feeding all the data back to the computers. So during a race weekend, that's what we use to download all the data. Today, it's just what we're using to look at all the oil pressure, the water temperatures, things like that on the car. So the engine's built to such tight tolerances, it has to be warmed up to at least 75 degrees Celsius before it can be turned over. So it usually takes around an hour and a half. It's quite warm today, so it's a bit less. So yeah, at the back you can see we've got a external starter because we try to save weight, so we don't have a onboard starter. And
just talk us through quickly just the roles of worldwide, especially in markets like India too.
Well, there's no question that Formula One, ultimately at the end of the motorsport journey and at the pinnacle of that motorsport journey, is an expensive sport, and so entry level to karting is difficult. But if talent is shown, it could be on a little fun kart track. People will get behind talent. Other sports, Pele had to kick a football somewhere for someone to believe in him, or Ronaldo, or whatever your favourite sport, whoever your favourite sports, man or woman. I think that it's about having a passion, it's about having a belief, and I think that events like this that Red Bull put on all around the world, but specifically here this weekend, there'll be some young boy or girl that hear a Formula One car for the first time, or see it, or read about it, or watch it on your the media's news outlets. We're all playing a part in influencing the future. I've had my time. I'm in my 50s. I'm still part of the Formula One community talking about it. But my time of growth as a driver is behind me. But it's always about the next generation, and that's the wonderful thing about Formula One. If you're good enough in motorsport, you're old enough. And again, Max came in at 17. He didn't even have a driving license for the road, and he was a Grand Prix driver because he was talented and hardworking. And we see that in other sports, that in sport we don't question age. We just go, this talent's amazing. Where in business we very often go, oh, the person's only 18, how can they be a CEO? Why not? Why can they not be the CEO? If they've got talent and hunger, everyone has the right to be whatever they work for.
It's funny you say you're 52, but when you were coming to India and I sent my brother a message, he said, the guy's got the energy of a 20-year-old, good luck, he's going to be awesome in India. So DC, I mean, you've been amazing as an ambassador for the sport as well. Chris, coming into a show run like this, how much work actually goes into making tomorrow happen? Because what we're going to see over the span of a couple of hours, there's clearly hundreds of hours that have gone into putting off an event like this.
Yeah, so a show run like this, the initial planning, it probably starts around 6 months. So Red Bull India came to us with the idea of what they wanted to do. So then we look at pulling everything together, whether it fits on a calendar, when we can do it, the best time to do it for the local market. And then we get everything together probably 3 weeks before the event. We ship the cars out, and then we do recce's. We look at the route, make sure everything's suitable. Obviously, the Red Bull India guys have been working on events like this, so we can make the most of our time here. We've been visiting universities, a couple of media events. So yeah, when we arrive, we spend 2 days building the cars, so the cars are basically in kit form.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do build the cars, get them fired up, make sure everything's okay, and then yeah, do these events, and then everything leads up to the big event on Sunday.
How different is it doing a showrun in India versus what you've done around the world? I know 2009 was a long time ago, but from your experience of just the last few days and leading up to tomorrow.
You can see the excitement wherever we go. Everyone's really excited about Sunday, so it's yeah, it's great. It's such a busy, bustling city, and I think it's going to be great to see all the fans lining the streets on Sunday.
Just speaking about the car that's here, the RB7, obviously an iconic car from the stable of Red Bull. Why the RB7 as a choice for the showruns?
So back in 2012, so that was the first year we were allowed to use these cars as show cars. We had a RB1 as our current show cars, and that was getting towards the end of its life. So we looked at these cars, we invested money in turning them to show cars. So we had to buy new shipping containers, we had to modify the car so they'd fit in those containers. You can see on this car there's certain areas where we developed them. A lot of it is heat reduction, so they're going a lot slower on the streets. We do filming projects, so yeah, and obviously one of the big points is the engine. The V8s are a lot simpler than the hybrid engines we use now.
Sound amazing, don't they?
The biggest thing is the sound. That's what people want to hear. When you come to a show run, you want a screaming engine, and yeah, we'll hear it soon.
We're going to hear it soon. It is a special sound as well. In terms of what we can expect tomorrow, Chris, from the public perspective, what else do you think is just going to wow a crowd that's never felt the Formula One car before?
Well, I mean, you guys are quite lucky that we've got DC here, because he's definitely a showman. And yeah, I mean, you can expect obviously noise. It's going to be fast, especially on the narrow roads compared to a racetrack. Some donuts, lots of burnouts. So yeah, a sort of the senses.
You know, it's funny, for a lot of you that may not know it, David actually was Red Bull's first podium finisher at Monaco, and when you sort of bring that experience of driving on the streets of Monaco now into driving on the streets of Mumbai, DC, you've done it before in 2009, but how special is it to actually have the Red Bull brand, the showrun in a city like Mumbai that's known for the energy that it has as well?
Well, I think as we've both been saying, that for us, we know how lucky we are to be involved in a sport like Formula One. It's a lot of hard work, of course, trying to achieve success on the racetrack, but that's where I'm very proud to continue to be part of the journey with Red Bull, because having been there right in the beginning in 2005, and a lot of people didn't really take seriously that an energy drinks company were going to compete against the likes of Ferrari and Mercedes and Renault and all the teams that were involved at that time. But it's always about people. It's always about investing in people, and you know, as Chris will know from his journey, there's an empowerment within the company. Everyone's expected to do their job, and everyone's expected to be honest about whether they feel they've reached the end of their particular limitations. I had to do that as well at the end of 2008, or certainly before that, to recognise I was coming to the end of my usable currency as a driver, and that's an honesty that the team responds to, and I think that's why the team continues to be so successful.
You spoke about coming to the end of your usable currency as a driver, but your currency's only gone up ever since in the paddock. DC, how much have you enjoyed life in the Formula One paddock as a pundit, as an expert, and everything else that you do around the paddock, because you're a very, very popular man in the Formula One circuit?
I'm not sure my ex-wife would say I was a popular man, but anyway, I think...
she's not here, it's okay. Go for it.
Definitely she's not here. I think that I'm passionate about the sport. For me, watching Formula One on television as a kid, growing up in the southwest of Scotland, it just looked this magical world that was being beamed from, it wasn't India at that time, but being beamed from Brazil, Australia, Canada, you know, all around Europe, Japan. It was, you know, it was an opportunity to discover these countries as well as celebrate the sport. And I think that there are, of course, other global sports, but there's nothing quite like Formula One in terms of the world tour that the team have to do every year. And it's a very short off season, where you don't see Formula One, but the activity back at the factory is unbelievable to build a new car and deliver it to the racetrack. And